Today we're going to tackle a real giant of the English language. It's the most common verb we use, it's incredibly powerful, and believe it or not, it's also one of the most confusing. Yep, we're talking about the verb to be. You know, it sounds kind of funny, but even the experts, the linguists, have called this verb badly mixed up. And that's not an insult. It's actually a huge clue that points to why this little verb can be so tricky.
So that's the big question we're diving into here. How can a word we use constantly in practically every other sentence be so darn confusing? Well, we're about to unravel that mystery, from the absolute basics all the way to its secret origins. Okay, let's start at the beginning with the absolute basics. You can think of to be as the foundation of, well, being in English. And to really master it, you just need to get friendly with its three main forms in the present tense: am, is, and are. The best way to think about to be is like a chameleon, you know? It literally changes its form to match whatever subject it's with. And the rules are actually pretty straightforward. Am is a solo artist. It only ever hangs out with I. Is for singular folks, like he, she, or it. And are is for the group. You, we, they, and anything plural. Get that down, and you're golden. All right, let's get into the part that trips up everybody, even native speakers. Been versus being. They look similar, they sound similar, but really, it's like they're time travelers operating in completely different time zones. So, here's the absolute key to telling them apart. Been is your past tense guy. It's always looking over its shoulder, into the past. You'll see it tagging along with has, have, or had to talk about something that's finished. But being is all about what's happening right this second. It's in the moment, describing an action that's currently in progress. And here's the cool part. They can totally hang out in the same sentence. When you say, I have been meaning to tell you. See, that been tells us this started sometime in the past. But then, you are being rude. That being describes behavior happening right now. It's a perfect example of how they anchor us in time. So, on top of changing its form all the time, the verb to be is also a master of disguise. It has two completely different jobs in a sentence. It can be a linking verb or it can be a helping verb. Understanding this is a total game changer. First up, its job as a helping verb. When it's doing this, it's basically the sidekick. It's not the main hero of the sentence. In she is running, the real action, the star of the show, is running. The word is just there to help out, to tell us when it's all going down, which is right now. But then, for its second job, to be steps into the spotlight. It becomes the main event. This is when it's a linking verb. It's not about action, it's about connection. In she is tired, the word is just connects the subject, she, to a description of her, tired. It shows a state of, well, being. And hey, if you ever get stuck trying to figure out which job it's doing, I've got a super simple trick for you. It's the equal sign test. Just try swapping out the to be verb with an equal sign. The sky is blue becomes the sky equals blue. Yeah, that makes sense. But try it on the other one. She is running becomes she equals running. Nope, doesn't really work. See, it's a quick, foolproof way to spot the difference. Okay, enough with the theory, let's get practical. We're going to look at some common mistakes people make, and then I've got a really great pro tip that'll seriously level up anyone's writing. So here are a few of the classic ways people get tripped up. First, just leaving the verb out completely, like saying he tall. And this makes a ton of sense because in a lot of other languages, you don't actually need a verb for that. Another common one is mixing up the forms,
like saying, I is student. That's just a matter of getting that subject-verb agreement down with practice. And sometimes you see pronoun confusion, which often comes from applying the grammar rules of a different language.
Okay, now for that pro tip I mentioned, and this isn't just for learners, this is for everybody. Here it is. If you overuse the verb to be, your writing can start to feel, well, a little weak, a little passive. It can actually hide who's really doing the action in a sentence. Just look at the difference here. It's night and day. On one side, you have, the patient's blood was drawn. Okay, but by whom? A ghost? A vampire? We have no idea. The sentence is passive. Now look at the other side. I drew the patient's blood. Boom. Active, clear, confident. Seriously, swapping a weak to be phrase for a strong action verb is one of the fastest ways to make your writing so much better. So we've seen how it works, but we still haven't answered that first big question. Why? Why is this verb so weird and irregular? Well, the answer is kind of bonkers. It all comes down to its bizarre, stitched-together history. Get this, here's the big secret. Our modern verb to be isn't really one verb at all. It's a mashup of Frankenstein's monster of words from at least 4 completely different ancient roots. You had one root, bu, that gave us be, been, and being. Another one, s, gave us am and is. The root is where we get are, and finally, wes gave us was and were. So remember how those linguists called it a badly mixed up verb? Well, now you know why. It's because it literally was. Over centuries, the English language just sort of patched all these different parts together from older words to create the single irregular verb we use today. It wasn't born, it was assembled. And all that leaves us with one final big question to think about. Now that you know its wild, stitched-together history, what's your take? Is the verb to be a brilliant, super flexible tool that makes English unique and powerful? Or is it just a messy, broken relic that we should actively try to write around? You know, there's really no right answer, but it's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.